The second my tires hit the gravel, I knew something was screwed. That familiar crunch, usually a warm welcome home, sounded like a scream today, jagged and furious, like the ground itself was pissed off. I'd been gone 32 measly days, sweating my ass off on a consulting gig in Dallas to keep our family afloat, and now I was barreling down Pine Hollow Lane in my beat-up Ford Explorer, heart-pounding with that sweet ache of coming home. But when I whipped around the last curve, my stomach dropped like I'd just missed a step in the dark. My soybean fields, those endless green waves my grandpa swore were our blood and soul, were gone. In their place? A goddamn 3-story hotel, all smug glass and fake brick, glaring at me like it owned the place. I slammed the brakes so hard the gravel sprayed like shrapnel, my hands choking the wheel, knuckles white as bone. What the hell had they done to my home? Before we get into the details, let me know in the comments where you are watching this video from. Put a lane if you want to constantly win any conflicts. I'm James Carter, 4th generation to bleed for that land. That farm wasn't just dirt. It was my dad's calloused hands, my summers racing fireflies, my whole damn life. And now it was a parking lot? I stumbled out, boots slamming into asphalt where soybeans should have been, my chest tight like someone had ripped my lungs out. Construction barriers glowed yellow like a crime scene, workers buzzing around like nothing was wrong. Then I saw it, a sign stabbed into the earth, Greenwood Heights Community Retreat, approved by HOA Board, Karen Mitchell, President. Karen. That name burned through me like wildfire. The HOA tyrant who'd been itching to sink her claws into our land for years, her snotty digs about our ugly fences, her petty letters about weeds. She'd finally done it, and it hit me like a freight train. She'd stolen my family's legacy. Hey, you out there, smash that like button if you've ever wanted to throttle an HOA Karen, because this one's a doozy. I growled under my breath, picturing you all nodding along. This isn't just a story, it's a war, and I'm taking you with me. My phone jolted me back, buzzing like a hornet in my pocket. Lauren's text, James, call me. Emergency. I stared at it, then at the hotel squatting on my land like a smug intruder. Emergency? This was a damn apocalypse. A worker strutted over, clipboard swinging, his hard hat tilted like he was king of the anthill. Help you, buddy, he said, smirking like I was lost. This is my land, I snapped, my voice a low rumble, barely holding back the rage. James Carter. That farm's been ours since 1897. His smirk faltered, eyes darting. You're the owner? He mumbled, shifting like a kid caught stealing. I didn't wait for more. My gaze locked on a table nearby, papers flapping in the breeze. Permits. Zoning crap. I stormed over, ignoring his, hey, you can't, and snatched one up. Community Enhancement Project, with a sneaky little note about adjusted boundaries. Adjusted? Since when? I peeled out, tires spitting gravel, and aimed for town. I had a hurricane of questions. Lauren's text glared at me, unanswered. How does a farm vanish in 32 days? We triple-checked every deed before I left, or so I thought. I screeched into Brew and Bean on Main, the coffee shop where locals spill secrets over bitter brew. I claimed a booth, yanked out my notebook, and started scrawling dates, names, fury. Karen Mitchell's face flashed in my mind, her fake smile, her power suits, her queen bee strut at HOA meetings. She'd played us dirty, but I wasn't going down without a fight. Jenny, the waitress, slid a coffee over. You okay, James? You look like you're about to explode. I grinned, sharp and wild. Oh, I'm just warming up, Jen. She's got no idea what's coming. As she walked off, I caught the hotel's shadow creeping over the fields through the window, a smug giant daring me to take it down. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about land. It was blood. Karen thought she could bulldoze my family's soul and dance on the rubble. She didn't know I'd burn the world down to stop her. I bolted to the barn, the one corner of our farm those bastards hadn't torched yet. Dust swirled like ghosts as I tore into Grandpa's old file cabinet, fingers shaking with adrenaline. Maps, deeds, yellowed papers spilled out, our history in ink. I grabbed a 1955 map, its lines bold and true, and my gut twisted. These boundaries didn't match her adjusted bullshit. My phone buzzed, Lauren again. I hit call, her voice crackling through. James, where are you? It's bad. That doesn't cut it, I said, eyes locked on the map. I'm ending this. As I hung up, gravel crunched outside. Through the barn slats, I saw her Karen Mitchell, stepping out of her white SUV, HOA sticker gleaming like a badge of honor. Sunglasses on, clipboard out, she strutted like she'd already won. She didn't see me, but I saw her, and I swore right then, this was her last mistake. Karen's SUV peeled out, leaving a cloud of dust that stung my eyes, but I didn't blink. I stood there in the barn, clutching Grandpa's map like it was a loaded gun, my blood boiling hotter than a Tennessee summer. She thought she could waltz onto my land, scribble some notes, and call it hers? Hell no. That map in my hands, those faded lines from 1955, told a different story, one she'd never see coming. I spread it across the workbench, the wood creaking under my fists, and traced every boundary. My family's farm stretched 147 acres, clear as day, not a single inch adjusted like her fancy permits claimed. This wasn't a mistake. This was a heist. I yanked more papers from the cabinet, tax records, land deeds, letters from Grandpa to the county, all screaming the truth. My phone buzzed again, Lauren's name flashing. "James, you there?" Her voice was a lifeline, sharp with worry but steady as steel. "I'm in the barn," I said, my words clipped. She was just here, Karen, strutting around like she owns us. Lauren sucked in a breath. "That witch. What's the plan?" I glanced at the papers, a fire sparking in my chest. "We fight smart. These docs, they're weapons. She's got no clue what's about to hit her." As I snapped photos of every page with my phone, the barn door rattled. My teenage son, Ethan, burst in, his sneakers skidding on the dirt floor. "Dad, you see this crap?" He held up his phone, some TikTok video of the hotel, all glossy drone shots and hashtags like hashtag Greenwood goals. "They're calling it a community win," he spat, his brown eyes flashing. I grinned, fierce and proud. Let him gloat. "We're about to flip their whole damn script." Ethan nodded, already scrolling. "I'll dig online, see what people are saying." My kid was 16 years old and ready to throw punches with me. That's when I knew this wasn't just my war anymore. Back in town, Lauren was tearing through her own battlefield. She'd hit the library on 3rd Street, elbow deep in microfiche and old HOA minutes. When I called her an hour later, her voice crackled with adrenaline. "James, listen, Karen's been at this for years. Meeting notes from 2012 show her pushing redevelopment plans, targeting small farms. She's got a pattern." I could hear the rustle of pages as she kept going. "And get this, some council guy, Mike Bradley, keeps popping up. I bet he's in her pocket." My grip tightened on the phone. Mike Bradley, smarmy local politico who'd always rubbed me wrong. "Keep digging," I told her. "We're building a damn fortress with this." Meanwhile, I hauled the docs to Brew and Bean, spreading them across a corner table like a war map. Jenny slid me a coffee, her eyebrows shooting up. "You're on a mission, huh?" she said, smirking. "Damn right," I shot back, my pen flying over notes, dates, discrepancies, Karen's lies stacking up like bricks. A guy at the next table leaned over, Tom Ruiz, who ran the gas station on Route 12. "Heard about your farm, James," he muttered, voice low. "She tried that rezoning crap on me back in 15. Folded too quick." His eyes burned with regret, and I nodded. "Not this time, Tom. She's done." My phone pinged, Ethan, texting like a madman. "Found a post on X. Someone saw Karen with Bradley at a diner last month, all hush-hush. Sketchy AF." I smirked. The pieces were falling fast now. Then Lauren burst in, her arms loaded with photocopies, her blonde hair wild. "James, you won't believe this." She slapped a page down, an old aerial photo from 1998, red lines marking our land in Tom's, with Karen's handwriting in the corner, priority acquisition. My jaw clenched so hard I heard it pop. She'd been plotting this for decades. Outside, dusk painted the sky bloody orange, the hotel's silhouette mocking me from afar. I stepped onto Main Street, Lauren at my side, and spotted Karen's SUV cruising past, slow, deliberate, like she was taunting us. My phone buzzed again, unknown number. "Careful what you dig up, Carter." A chill snaked down my spine, but I shook it off. "She's scared," I told Lauren, my voice a growl. Good. We headed home, the docks in my truck glowing like dynamite. Karen thought she'd buried us, but I was about to blow her whole game wide open. The kitchen felt like a freaking war zone, the table buried under a blizzard of evidence, maps, photos, HOA minutes, all practically glowing with the smug truth we'd unearthed. It was past midnight, the clock ticking like it was mocking us. But sleep? Yeah, that was for people who didn't have a psycho HOA queen trying to bulldoze their life. My hand shook, not from some dainty little fear, oh no, but from the sheer, electric thrill of knowing we had Karen by her perfectly manicured neck. That 1998 photo with her scribbled priority acquisition? It wasn't just a smoking gun. It was a cannon with her name etched on the barrel. I slammed my coffee mug down, the bang loud enough to wake the neighbors. 25 years she's been stalking our farm like it's Black Friday at Nordstrom, I snarled, my voice dripping with venom. Lauren's eyes flared, her fingers jabbing at the red lines. Well, her shopping spree's over, babe. Ethan stumbled in, looking like a zombie but wired like he'd chugged a Red Bull. Dad, get this. Some Reddit warrior just spilled tea on Karen. Bullied a widow out of her land in '09. Same old song and dance, fake permits, rezoning fairy tales. He smirked, all teenage sass and fire. It's going viral. I grabbed his phone, scrolling through the carnage, peak HOA Karen. She's a human vulture, and I couldn't help it. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Oh, look, her fan club's growing. Tell M to keep the party going, kid. We're about to crash it with a blowtorch. Across town, Tom Ruiz was playing Rabble-Rouser 2. He texted me earlier, all shaky bravado. I'm in, James. Rounding up the geezers at the diner tomorrow, gonna stir the pot. I could see him at Rosie's, hunched over hash browns, preaching to the gray hair brigade like some budget Robin Hood. Karen's little kingdom was crumbling, and every crack was my new favorite toy. My phone buzzed, another anonymous Jim. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. I snorted, tossing it on the table. Oh, bless her heart, she thinks she's scary. What's next? A sternly worded email. By morning, the chaos hit like a freight train. I stormed into Brew and Bean, arms stuffed with Grandpa's maps and Lauren's library loot, looking like a deranged historian. The place was a hornet's nest, locals buzzing, throwing shade at the hotel like it personally offended them. Jenny slid me a coffee, grinning like she knew I was about to burn it all down. Town's on fire, James. They're ready to riot. I smirked, spreading the docks like a poker champ laying down aces. Fantastic. Let's give him a megaphone. Then Mrs. Clara Hayes hobbled over, cane thumping, her voice a rusty growl. Karen pulled that rezoning stunt on me in '07. I folded like a cheap lawn chair, biggest regret of my life. Her eyes drilled into me, and I thought, well, damn, Grandma's got teeth. Not this time, Clara, I said, all bite. We're rewriting her happy ending. Meanwhile, Lauren was working her magic at the county clerk's office, sweet-talking her way through moldy files. She called me mid-morning, panting like she'd run a marathon. James, jackpot, Grandpa's 1972 land trust. Our farm's locked tighter than Fort Knox unless we say otherwise. I nearly hooped, my heart doing a victory lap. Grandpa, you sneaky genius, tossing us a lifeline from the grave. Get that gold home. I barked, grinning like a lunatic. That's her coffin nail. Ethan crashed in next, phone blazing. Dad, bam, ex-leak. Karen and Mike Bradley, all buddy-buddy at a steakhouse last week, swapping envelopes like it's a spy movie. The fuzzy pic showed her Botox smile, his sleazy paws caught red-handed. The cafe exploded, folks shoving to gawk. She's toast. Tom roared, pounding the counter. I flashed a grin, all teeth and venom. Oh, not yet, Tommy boy. But I'm about to serve her ass on a platter. I stepped outside, the sun scorching, and there she was. Karen's SUV screeched up across the street like she thought she was in a damn action flick. She strutted out, sunglasses flashing, her bob barely hiding the panic sweat. She glared at me, then at the mob spilling from Brew and Bean, their voices a rising growl. My phone pinged, Lauren. Trust docs in hand. On my way. I met Karen's stare, my smirk pure poison. She thought she could spook us, drown us in her HOA fairy dust. Newsflash, lady, the storm's mine now, and it's about to blow your perfect little world to kingdom come. Karen's glare sliced through the sticky air like a knife, but I stood on Main Street, smirking like I'd just hit the jackpot, and trust me, I was about to rake it in. Her white SUV loomed across the road, a polished throne for her royal nuisance, but the crowd spilling out of Brew and Bean wasn't here to grovel. Their voices roared like a storm, gritty, fierce, alive, a tidal wave of anger and hope that slammed into me, lighting my veins on fire. These weren't just neighbors, they were a rebellion, and I was the match that set them ablaze. My heart thumped wild, a drumroll of pride and payback. Karen thought she'd crushed us under her heel, but she'd kicked a hornet's nest instead. My phone buzzed, Lauren's voice cutting through the noise like a lifeline. 5 minutes out, James. I've got the trust doc. She was racing down Route 12, that 1972 golden ticket grip tight, and I could hear the steel in her tone, the same fierce edge that hooked me years ago. Hurry, I growled. I was glued to Karen. Her Highness needs a wake-up call. I pictured Lauren's blonde hair flying, her hands locked on the wheel, speeding to save the land we'd sworn to pass down. This wasn't just a fight. It was our blood, our roots, our everything. Inside Brew and Bean, Ethan was a whirlwind with a phone, streaming the chaos like a teenage vigilante. "Yo, people, HOA Karen's melting down out there," he hollered, swinging the camera from the raging crowd to me through the window. "My dad's about to torch her whole game. Don't look away." His grin was pure trouble, and I flicked him a mock salute through the glass, my chest swelling. That kid, 16 and fearless, was my shadow, and every "get her, king" in his chat stoked the flames. The internet was a furnace now, and we were the fuel. Karen marched forward, her heels snapping on the pavement like warning shots, her sunglasses barely hiding the panic I knew was clawing at her. "James Carter," she spat, loud enough for the crowd to catch it. "You're embarrassing yourself." Her voice oozed that sugary venom she'd mastered, nails on a chalkboard to my sanity. I laughed, a jagged, vicious sound, closing the gap. "Oh, Karen, the only embarrassment here's the lady who thought she could swipe my family's soul with some shady paperwork." The crowd erupted, cheers crashing like waves, and I saw her flinch. A tiny crack, but I was a shark smelling blood. Tom Ruiz shoved through behind me, his gas station cap lopsided, his face flushed with decades of bottled rage. "You screwed me too, Karen. Back in 15, my shop's lot." His voice broke, heavy with the ache of a man who'd bent too far. Clara Hayes followed, cane stabbing the ground, her frail body shaking, but her eyes blazing like wildfire. "You stole my orchard, you scavenger. Left me with nothing," she hissed, and I felt the ground tremble with her pain. These weren't just gripes. They were scars, ripped open, and I was the glue they'd been aching for. My phone pinged. "Lauren, 2 minutes away." I could almost hear her engine roaring, feel the weight of that trust dock, Grandpa's ghost chuckling. "Checkmate, you greedy snake." Karen's polish was peeling now, sweat glistened on her brow, her clipboard a flimsy shield. "This is ridiculous," she snapped, but her voice wobbled, and the crowd pounced on the weakness. "Ridiculous?" I fired back, my grin savage. "Tell that to the 147 acres you paved over, my kids' dreams, my dad's resting place, my life." Ethan's voice rang out, still streaming. "Oh dang, she's folding. Check her face." The crowd pressed in, phones up, capturing her collapse frame by frame. Karen whirled on them, barking, "Back off, all of you." But it was like shouting at a freight train. I stepped right into her space, close enough to choke on her overpriced perfume, my voice a low, deadly hum. "You poked a sleeping bear, Karen. This town's done kissing your boots." Her eyes flickered wide, just a heartbeat, and I saw it. Pure, delicious fear. Headlights flared. Lauren's truck screeched in, dirt flying as she hit the brakes. She leapt out, papers clutched high, her face a storm of victory and wrath. "James," she yelled, charging through the crowd, slamming the trust dock into my hands like a war trophy. I held it up, the faded ink a blazing torch, and turned to Karen. "Game's up," I said, my voice a razor's edge. Her mouth gaped, but no sound came, just the sweet, sweet crack of her empire splitting apart. Lauren grabbed me, her arms fierce, her voice a whisper against my neck. "We got her." I pulled her close, my heart pounding with a savage joy. "Not yet," I murmured, my eyes narrowing. "She's got one last surprise coming." Back home, I strode into the barn, the crowd's echoes still ringing in my ears. I'd been digging through Grandpa's files all night, and there it was, a sealed envelope, missed before, marked for James, open when they strike. My hands tore it open, and a photo slipped out. Karen, young and smirking, shaking hands with a county official, dated 1973. A note scrawled beneath. "She's deeper than you think. Check the council." My gut twisted. The council? I grabbed my phone, dialing Daniel. "Dig into the county council. Now," I barked. "Karen's got bigger fish frying." He paused, then chuckled. "On it. This just got wild." I hung up, staring at the hotel's silhouette against the dusk. Wetlands were her downfall, but this photo? This was a whole new beast. Karen wasn't just a greedy HOA hag. She was a puppet, and I was about to cut the strings. The barn felt like a war room at dawn, the air thick with dust and the weight of that 1973 photo. Karen, all smug and young, shaking hands with some county suit. Grandpa's scrawl, "Check the council, burned in my brain as I paced, boots kicking up dirt. My phone buzzed. Daniel, my lawyer, his voice crackling with that caffeine-fueled edge. James, you're a damn bloodhound. That council lead? Goldmine. Karen's been cozy with County Commissioner Robert Ellis for decades. Backroom deals, cash under tables. I've got emails, old permits. He's her puppet master. I stopped dead, a grin splitting my face, sharp and hungry. Oh, this is too good. She's not just a vulture. She's a marionette. Keep digging, Dan. We're about to yank every string. Outside, the hotel loomed, its glass eyes glinting in the morning sun, a monument to Karen's greed, soon to be her tombstone. Lauren stormed in, her arms loaded with fresh printouts from the library, her eyes wild. James, look, Ellis signed off on that wetland zoning change in '99. Forged ecological reports. She slapped the papers down, her voice a mix of triumph and fury. He buried the truth to line his pockets. Karen's hotel was his pet project. I grabbed the docs, my pulse racing. Robert Ellis, smarmy, silver-haired politico who'd smirked at every town hall I'd ever suffered through. He thought he was untouchable, pulling levers from the shadows. Not anymore. Across town, Karen wasn't licking her wounds. She was scrambling. I'd heard whispers at Brew and Bean. She'd called an emergency HOA meeting, begging for backup. Ethan, my one-man spy network, was already on it, sneaking clips from a buddy inside. He texted me a grainy video. Karen, pacing in her pristine boardroom, her voice tight. Ellis will fix this. He owes me. We'll bury Carter in legal fees till he chokes. The HOA cronies nodded, all pinched faces and nervous glances, but I could smell the desperation through the screen. She thought her bigwig savior could swoop in. Oh, honey, you've got no idea what's coming. Meanwhile, Daniel was a machine, cross-referencing Ellis's dirty laundry with county records. He called me mid-morning, breathless. James, jackpot, Ellis funneled $50,000 through a shell company to push that hotel permit. Bank statements, timestamps, it's airtight. But here's the kicker. The state's environmental board's already sniffing the wetland mess. They're pissed. I laughed, a dark, rolling sound. Perfect. Let's drag him into the spotlight. He can sweat with Karen. I pictured Ellis in his corner office, all mahogany and ego, oblivious to the noose tightening. He'd picked the wrong farmer to mess with. Back at the house, Lauren and I spread the evidence across the kitchen table. Ellis's forged reports, Karen's bribe trails, Grandpa's photo tying it all back decades. Ethan burst in, phone blazing. Dad, X is exploding. Someone leaked Ellis's name with the hotel. Hashtag HOGates trending. I grabbed his phone, scrolling. Ellis is toast. Karen's puppet master exposed. And my chest swelled. The internet was a beast, and we'd just fed it red meat. Keep fanning those flames, kid, I said, ruffling his hair. They're about to feel the burn. But Ellis wasn't sitting idle. Word hit Brew and Bean by noon. He called Karen, promising to handle it. Ginny overheard some suits at the counter, muttering about a late-night council meet. They're spooked, James, she said, sliding me a coffee. Ellis thinks he can squash this. I smirked, sipping slow. Oh, let him try? He's about to trip over his own ego. Sure enough, Daniel rang again, his voice a razor. Ellis just filed an injunction to stall the wetland probe. Claims procedural errors. But I've got a whistleblower, county clerk named Lisa Monroe. She's got recordings of him pressuring her to shred files. She's flipping. My grin turned feral. Lisa Monroe, quiet little brunette I'd seen at town meetings, always dodging Ellis's shadow. Now she was our dagger. Get her on board, I told Daniel. We're crashing their party. That night, the council convened. Ellis, Karen, and their cronies huddled in the county building like rats in a trap. Ethan streamed it live from a cracked window, his whispers electric. They're freaking out. Ellis is yelling at Karen, says she dragged him into this. I watched the feed, heart pounding. Ellis, red-faced, snarling. You said Carter was a nobody. Karen snapped back. Fix it, Robert. You promised. Oh, the sweet sound of panic. Then the twist hit. Lisa strode in, recorder in hand, her voice trembling but firm. I've got proof. Ellis forged docs, took bribes. I'm done covering. The room froze, then erupted. Ellis lunged for her, but security hauled him back, his bellows echoing. Karen's face went white, her empire, and his, collapsing in real time. Ethan's stream hit 80K views, the internet howling. They're cooked. Take him down. I leaned back, arms crossed, a dark satisfaction curling in my gut. Ellis thought he'd save Karen, but he'd just lit his own pyre. Now they'd both burn, and regret ever crossing me. The county courtroom thrummed with a restless buzz, the air crackling as I stood at the plaintiff's table, Lauren's hand tight in mine. Ethan smirking behind us, his phone capturing every second. Judge Margaret Coleman's gavel hovered like a thunderclap waiting to strike, and across the room, Karen Mitchell and Robert Ellis sat, shrunken, sweaty shadows of their former selves. Daniel had unleashed hell. Grandpa's 1972 trust, Ellis's forged wetland reports, Lisa's chilling recordings of his barked orders to lose the Carter file. The evidence was a tidal wave, and they were drowning. Karen's bob clung to her damp forehead. Ellis's tie hung like a noose, two predators caught in their own snare. The judge's voice sliced through the room, sharp and final. The court rules the Greenwood Heights HOA guilty of fraud, property law violations, and environmental misconduct, she declared, her gray eyes unyielding. The hotel project, completed or not, is hereby seized and awarded to James Carter as restitution, effective immediately. The HOA is dissolved, and the defendants will pay $1.5 million in damages for emotional distress and lost income. The gallery exploded, gasps, cheers, a roar that shook the walls, but my gaze stayed locked on Karen. Her jaw dropped, a silent scream, as her empire melted into nothing. Ellis slumped, his silver hair a mess, regret oozing from every pore. Too late now, pal. Lisa's tapes had gutted him, his own voice damning him in front of everyone, and the state was already piling on fines, $250K and climbing, for the wetland scam he'd buried. He'd thought he could prop Karen up, but he'd just handed me his head on a platter. I smirked, letting the bitter sweetness of it sink in. He'd rue the day he crawled out of his cushy office to play her night. Karen lurched up as the judge rattled off her fate. Personal liability, assets seized, HOA kaput. Her sunglasses were long gone, her eyes red and pleading as she stumbled toward me. James, I'll disappear. I'll pay something, just stop this, she begged, her voice a cracked whisper. The crowd went silent, every eye on us, and Lauren's grip tightened, her breath hitching. I could have taken her crumbs, let her slink away. But this wasn't just our win. It was a reckoning for every family she'd crushed. I leaned in, my voice a steel blade, calm and cutting. No dice, Karen. You don't get to whimper out of this. You, Ellis, every HOA goon who's bullied folks out of their homes, you're done. I'm keeping this hotel, the cash, everything. And I'm making damn sure every HOA in America knows. Mess with us, and you'll lose it all. Her knees buckled, a sob tearing free, but I turned my back, facing the room. This isn't just my fight, it's a warning. Step on people, and we'll bury you. Judge Coleman's gavel crashed down. The court also approves Mr. Carter's motion, new HOA regulations for Lincoln County. Full transparency, resident veto power, felony charges for violations. Statewide adoption pending. The room went wild. Tom Ruiz pumped his fist. Clara Hayes thumped her cane. Ginny hooped from the back. Ethan's stream hit 120K views. Comments blazing. King Carter. HOA's toast. I felt the shift, deep and seismic. We'd rewritten the game. A month later, I stood on the hotel's top floor, my hotel now, its glass walls gleaming over the soybean fields I'd fought for. The HOA's pet project was finished, handed to me lock, stock, and barrel, 3 stories, 80 rooms, a sprawling parking lot, all mine. The $1.5 million check sat in my account, a fat cushion for the chaos they'd caused, but the real prize was the land, untouched beneath, still ours. Lauren leaned against me, her voice soft. You turned their weapon into our victory, James. I grinned, kissing her temple. Damn right. They built it, they lost it. Ethan bounded up, phone in hand. Dad, streams at 250K. People are calling you the HOA slayer. I laughed, ruffling his hair. Good. Let him spread it. Karen was gone. Rumors said she'd fled to some backwater, penniless. Her name mud. Ellis faced trial, his counsel buddies bailing fast, whining they didn't mean it. Sure, fellas. The new laws rippled out. HOAs across Tennessee, then beyond, scrambling to rewrite bylaws, terrified of the next James Carter lurking in their shadows. I'd made them afraid good. That evening, I walked the fields, soybean sprouts curling up through the soil, the hotel's shadow a strange new guardian. Lauren joined me, her hand warm in mine, and Ethan trailed, filming the sunset. This is ours, all of it, I said, my voice thick. And no HOAs touching it again. The fight had scarred us, but it had forged something stronger, a legacy of defiance, a lesson carved in stone. Hurt us, and we'll take everything you've got. Hey, you out there? This hit you, didn't it? Drop a quick comment. What's your HOA nightmare? Hit subscribe. We're keeping this fire burning, and I want you riding shotgun.